The DT-4 post-mount facing tool includes 100 and 135 millimeter axles for open dropout bikes. For 20 millimeter through-axle systems, use fork axle with cutting body directly. For 15 millimeter through axles, use spacer adapter bushing included in the set. For 12 millimeter through axle systems, use the adapter bushing included in the set. Assemble cutting body with appropriate axle or bike axle with appropriate adapter bushings. Axle must be held fully up into open dropouts while axle end screws are secured. The precision of the DT-4 relies on duplicating the position of the wheel in the frame or fork. The DT-4 body slides laterally along the axle. Position the base of the DT-4 approximately halfway between the dropouts. Snug base screw at this time, but still allow for rotation of the body of tool. Check that the cutting arm is able to reach over both upper and lower post mounts. Position cutting arm directly over both posts at this time. The DT-4 post mount facer set includes two different parallelism gauges. These gauges will account for the 4 different post mount height standards. Each gauge can be used in 2 different positions. The longer section of the L shape will be used on the shorter posts. The shorter section of the L shape will be used for taller posts. Gauges will expand to allow for manufacturers' tolerance differences. Cutting body screw should allow base to rotate on axle at this time. Cutting body will be rotated until cutting arm wings are parallel to the post mount tops. Select gauge and orient according to the post mount size relative to the cutting arm. Place parallelism gauge on top of post mount. Rotate cutting body until cutting arm and gauge are parallel. Expand gauge as necessary until both are correctly aligned. Secure cutting arm screw. Double check that cutting arm has not moved from aligned position. Position cutter knob toward end of cutter shaft hex. Place cutter into cutting arm. Loosen cutting arm screw and position pilot of cutter into lower post mount. Resecure cutting arm screw. Apply park tool or other cutting fluid to end of cutter each time the cutter is rotated against post mount. Apply pressure to cutting knob and rotate clockwise only to begin machining of post mount. Take only a minimal cut that will allow caliper brake body to sit flat on post mount surface. Any residual paint is considered a low spot. In this post mount, the cut is considered adequate. After the post is adequately faced, set height of cutter relative to cutting arm. Loosen cutting knob set screw and position knob against cutter arm. Cutter teeth must be contacting post mount while knob is against cutting arm. This stops the cutting action. Loosen cutting arm screw and reposition cutter into upper mount. Retighten screw. Turn cutter clockwise again. Ideally, the cutter will make an adequate cut and cutter knob will then contact cutting arm. Remove DT-4 and clean both posts. If cutter is positioned for the second cut and there is a large gap between the cutter and second post mount, such as near 1 millimeter, this is an indication the cutter arm was not correctly set to parallel. A large gap appearing between the cutter knob and cutter arm also indicates cutting arm parallelism was inadequately set. This is an inadequate facing on the second post. It is now necessary to reset the cutter depth to take a fresh and full cut on this second mount. If there is no cutting at top mount or inadequate facing at the top mount, reset cutter. Loosen knob set screw, draw back on knob, secure set screw, and begin with a full and fresh cut at the top mount. When top post is adequately cut, set cutting depth to reference this second top mount. Reposition cutter to lower mount and face surface with the reference of the top post mount cut. Cutting is now finished. Remove DT-4 and clean both mounts. Clean tool and store properly.